Alright, so I actually made this video as a test, and just by clicking it, you've already given me some level of result, right? And the test was that I'm curious to see how much of Colts Nation is as interested in the tight end battle going into training camp as I am, particularly so this year, because it has been a meaningful period of time since the Colts have really had a tight end worth writing home about, right? Like Captain Andrew Luck, dearest mother. Has anyone ever seen that Twitter page? Am I the only one that's into memes like that? If you have not seen Captain Andrew Luck, obviously not active anymore for obvious reasons, please go ahead and check that out, right? But back to the topic, right? I am interested in this battle going into training camp. I mean, you could talk about the Jack Doyles of the world, right? He was a good tight end for us. Maybe even Kobe Fleener, Dwayne Allen. I could go on and on about how those guys to me were disappointing. Maybe I even will, right? Kobe Fleener, Andrew Luck's go-to guy in college, right? Andrew Luck first round, Kobe Fleener second round. And as Andrew Luck flourishes into one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, Kobe Fleener kind of just ends up being a tight end that pops off once or twice a month at most, right? Not what it was supposed to be. When you talk about great tight ends and the Indianapolis Colts, you're talking about Dallas Clark, right? And it has been quite a bit of time. Someone tell me, 10 years, 12 years? When's the last time Dallas Clark wore an Indianapolis Colts uniform? And I thirst for it. I thirst for that. Is that sus? I don't know. But the reason I make this episode particularly is not just because I want a tight end so bad. It's because just my gut, just kind of some of the facts that we have in front of us, some of the clues that I've taken, which I'll share with you momentarily, just make me feel like this is going to be the year that we see a guy on the Colts kind of ascend as a legitimate force at tight end. I'm talking like groundbreaking offensive force, not just serviceable tight end, like someone that's a real game breaker at the position. And there's three things that make this season different than others, because obviously I've thought we were going to have good tight ends before, right? One, it's the amount of guys that we have on the roster. Tight end is a position that, quite frankly, at most throughout the course of a game, you're going to see two of them on the field. If a team is doing a 3 tight end set, I mean, they're probably running the ball quite a bit or something. I mean, you're not seeing that too many times throughout the course of the game, particularly in today's NFL, right? Because at what point are you just throwing an extra lineman instead of having a third tight end out there, right? Because obviously the lineman, even if the tight end's a good blocker, the lineman's going to provide you a little bit more of a push, right? But we have a lot of guys on this roster. We have, 7 dudes working out with the team right now. And when you take into account that there's only going to be 3 or 4 that make the roster, you got to think that the Colts view it as an important position to this offense. And that's because of the hire of Shane Steichen, which is my second point. When you look at every team that Shane Steichen has been the offensive coordinator for, which is interim for the Chargers in 2019, Chargers again in 2020, and then I think you got the Eagles. Maybe he did the Chargers again. Point being, you have the Chargers and the Eagles. Hunter Henry was a major, major part of that Chargers offense. But now, was he spectacular tight end? No, but he was good enough for there to be a lot of buzz around him under Shane Steichen. And what have we seen from Hunter Henry since, right? You look at Dallas Goedert right now. He was getting a lot of love when he was behind Zach Ertz before Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator over there. Last season, we see in 14 games, I don't have the exact number, but Dallas Goedert, despite having missed a substantial period of time, was one of the most targeted people in the Eagles offense, not on a per-game basis. We're talking by the end of the season in targets. He was one of the top 3 or 4 guys. So Shane Steichen likes to feature the tight end in an offense, right? And then on top of that, we have the young quarterback in Anthony Richardson, and that just plays a lot into tight end production. I'm going to make you wait for that. I'm going to get into that as the episode progresses, right? So let's get into it real quick before we do. Introduce myself. My name is Justin. This is the Ride in the Bench Colts cast. For those of you who haven't been here before or skipped past the intro or aren't looking above my head, I mean, how many times could I tell you who I am and what the name of the show is, right? Here's the key. Never enough for those of you aspiring to be a creator, right? If at any point you're enjoying this or you're enjoying it right now, go ahead, shoot a like. That's common YouTube etiquette. Anytime I watch anything I like it, right? It's going to help me get out to as many people as possible. Greatly appreciated. That helps the channel more than you know, of course. If you really, really like me, you're really, really enjoying this, and that's when you would subscribe. Or perhaps you want to see my training camp takeaways. We're getting there very, very, very quickly, right? If you want to see that, go ahead and subscribe. Almost forgot what I was saying right there. So I guess because I'm basically forgetting what I'm saying, we can just go back into the episode, right? So I want to kind of start just diving in a little bit to some of the guys that we have on this roster. And I guess I'm just going to spout out my thoughts about them, right? Just to kind of give you an idea of how I view this thing going into training camp, right? Mo Ali Cox, we'll start there. This was a guy that a lot of people, if you were watching videos this time last year, not of me, this is my first year doing this, but of other people, and I agreed with them. Mo Ali Cox was a guy that you would have seen on the breakout candidate list, kind of like the cover boy of today's video, right? The same type of deal. Big, athletic, although I think maybe not as much as the cover boy, whose name I'm not mentioning for, I don't know, just because I think it's cool not to right now, but like I'm making you wait. You know who's on the cover of the video, right? So Mo Ali Cox, for me, is a guy that I still think could produce. I don't think he stinks or anything like that. I'm rooting for him, but I think he's fighting against a contract. You talk about them drafting a Will Mallory, obviously Granson, he who shall not be, fine, I'll do it. Hey, Kylen Granson, Jelani Woods, these are guys that have been brought onto the roster since Mo Ali Cox has been here and has been paid. I think if a few of them step up, Mo Ali Cox is a guy that is going to be potential to be cut, right? Fighting against his contract. Maybe if he was on one of the rookie contracts, it would be a different story, but he's not. What do you want me to tell you, right? Pharaoh Brown, Andrew Ogletree. I know it was one of these guys, and I don't get into the training camp darlings quite as much. Far more concerned about the guys who are making an impact weeks 1 through 18, right? In the regular season and potentially even the playoffs, right? These are the guys that concern me the most. It's not to say that I don't pay attention. Obviously, I'm going to training camp, as I said. But, you know, it's over a year's time. I kind of forget. Was it Ogletree or was it Pharaoh Brown, who was the guy last year that was like a training camp darling, was really breaking out? I know one of you guys is going to know because I know I have a lot of, pretty well-informed Colts fans watching, which I'm greatly appreciative for. It was one of them, right? A lot of people have used that as an argument as to why one of that guy, whoever that is, Brown or Ogletree, has to make the roster. Here's my one thing with that. One, obviously you're talking about a team that's drafted a tight end in each of the past 3 seasons, right? That's for starters. And then 2, what does it matter what he did last year? We have a new coach in Shane Steichen. We have a new offensive coordinator in Bob Cooter. The list goes on and on. We have a new quarterback, right? The whole bit. What have you done for me lately, right? And hasn't been anything. He's coming off the injury, so on and so forth. That is what it is. The guys I'm really looking at are Will Mallory, Kylen Granson, and Jelani Woods. And listen, that's not groundbreaking. I'm aware, I didn't just bring you something that no one else brought you. And maybe I won't throughout the course of the episode. But when I look at all these guys, I'm saying, hey, one of these dudes has to be able to produce. And not only produce, my prediction is that we're going to see someone like break out. Now, it's between these 3. Will Mallory, to me, when I watch him at Miami, obviously I don't watch Miami Hurricanes football. I didn't watch Will Mallory, out of breath, till after he was on the Indianapolis Colts or drafted by the Indianapolis Colts. He kind of reminds me of a Dalton Schultz type. Doesn't do anything spectacular, but he's on the field doing well. He catches the ball well. He's smooth in and out of his routes. He's just a fluent athlete, not spectacular or anything, but very good across the board. Just a guy you like to have. Will Mallory looks the part to me. I think he's a lock for the roster. Kylen Granson, a guy that Shane Steichen went out of his way to make sure was praised by him in a press conference, went on to praise his blocking. Now, I don't know whether or not Kylen Granson's going to be a great blocker this year and like if that's going to be his bread and butter, but I think that clue right there is something that Shane Steichen is saying, hey, we want this guy around. That's how I took that. So for those of you who don't think Kylen Granson's going to make the roster, you're completely out of your mind. Kylen Granson is a lock for this roster, as is obviously Jelani Woods. I mean, Jelani Woods, you want to talk about a dude. This guy right here is, oh my goodness, and we all know it. Again, it's not like I'm like putting you on to Jelani Woods. He's like one of the most popular breakout candidates for us. I think Granson has a better chance than a lot of people think, but Jelani Woods, in terms of like sheer upside, you can't, they don't build him like this guy. I mean, this is like LeBron James if he was like a linebacker, right? Like he's a 6'7", 260 pounds. My one concern is that he's nursing that hamstring injury right now. Not on the field a lot last year, and then this is a new offense this year. How valuable are those reps? I'm not 100% sure, but it's something to keep an eye on. The reps he's missing out on, I'm talking about, with the hamstring injury, which, as you get bigger, is not any easier to deal with. Injuries in the legs for guys who are running is obviously tough. I mean, that sounds intuitive, but I feel like people don't think about it. A hamstring injury can linger, and it gets worse the bigger you get in terms of the ability to shake that type of thing off. And I'm hoping that doesn't hamper the upside of Jelani Woods this year, but it's something we have to keep an eye on. Regardless, those are the 3 guys, all of them of which were on the cover of the video that you just clicked. So, I mean, that is what it is, right? Now, we could talk about the upside. We could talk about those players, and I did briefly, but I really want to talk about a bit more why it is, other than Shane Steichen, right? I mean, we could start there because I forget if I mentioned it at the top of the show, how heavily Shane Steichen targets the tight ends in his offense going all the way through every time he was an offensive coordinator. I think I mentioned it, right? There is that coupled with Anthony Richardson. And why I know a lot of people are like, oh, he has accuracy issues, and you know, what else are people saying about Anthony Richardson, right? We're not going to have a lot of numbers through the air, and that's a very simplified version of kind of what's going on here, right? I mean, when you talk about a young quarterback who's dealing with things like accuracy issues, or maybe they're just, I don't know, they're concerned about his ability to be ready on day one, for starters, you're going to see one thing. You're going to see a simplified version of the playbook. Now, I don't know what exactly that means. I'll be fair. My football qualifications are followed, by the way, for any of you who are wondering who the heck I am. I played football from ages 5 all the way up until senior year of high school. I was in no danger of being a college athlete or an NFL athlete. I just decided to go to work instead, right? It is what it is. The dream ends eventually for everyone, right? And then I quarterbacked a 1-in-10 flag football team in a league by the name of Saffel on Long Island. Not that that's really relevant. Point being is if you ever looked into it, it's more impressive than you'd think, right? So 1-in-10, 1-in-10 regardless. My point in all of this is I guess I'm trying to validate what I'm about to say, right? You're going to see a simplified version of the playbook. For a guy like Anthony Richardson, so much of what happens on an NFL field when it comes to the quarterback position has very little to do with the talent and much more to do with what's going on up here, right? Is a reason that not everyone with a big arm and talent is a guy, right? It's what separates, I don't know, let's say a Ryan Tannehill and Jalen Hurts, right? They both have similar arm talent. Now, of course, Jalen Hurts, obviously a superior athlete, runner of the football. Arm talent, I think they're comparable. There's a reason that on top of the fact that he can run, there's a reason that you see a guy like Jalen Hurts able to produce so much more through the air than Ryan Tannehill. And part of that has to do with just his presence, right? How does he feel? How confident is he in the offense, right? How well is he seeing everything and how slow is this moving? And confidence is really kind of I don't know, it's a product of hard work and knowledge, right? If you're going into a job interview and you didn't prepare a lick, a damn, right? I mean, are you nervous or what, right? But if you went through all the questions, you wore your little suit in the mirror, you're fixing up the tie, you're going through potential scenarios in your brain, there's nothing that they're going to throw at you that day that's going to throw you off your course. Now, that's easier said than done, particularly because playing quarterback in the NFL is far more difficult than going on a job interview. No disrespect. I mean, it's not easy, but come on now, right? I mean, that's just the pre-draft process. You're talking about going out on Sunday and playing, right? That's difficult. The way that you can help a guy with that is to simplify the playbook. 30% of the playbook, 50% of the playbook. Just make some easy reads. Instead of having some really serious progressions where he has to go through 3 or 4 reads, maybe at the line before the play starts, or even has a huge progression as he drops back based off, like, I don't know, a safety move and the whole deal, right? I mean, I could try to explain it. I'm not an expert. I have a general grasp of things. I know maybe if there's 100% of knowledge in football, I have maybe 3% of it, right? That being said, that 3% does go a pretty long way when I'm trying to figure out what's in front of me, right? So you have to find a way to make easy completions for a young quarterback. I hope I'm on track here, by the way, guys. I have no notes in front of me. I'm just spitting off the dome, which even more so than usual, may I add, right? Just bars over here. Bars. Freestyle. Sway. Hyena. I'm going off the rails. Hopefully someone gets that reference. If not, you think I'm a weirdo. But it's Sway in the morning. Freestyles. Things of that nature. Okay, right? You got to make it easy on the quarterback. This episode's a mess. I'm keeping this all in here because it is what it is, right? You got to make it easy for a guy, which means you have to take those 3 to 4 read progressions and simplify them to 1 or 2. Hey, just RPOs, right? For example, either hand this off or hit the slant depending on how the corner plays them, right? Maybe you have something along the lines of, hey, you're going to either throw the back end screen or maybe you're going to tuck it in. That's really not a concept. My point is that you just make it as little decisions as possible. These types of things get a quarterback confident, and these type of things kind of let him feel the game, let things slow down for him a little bit. And then on top of that, when you talk about the accuracy issues, you want big-bodied guys, right? And the easiest completions, checkdowns and short passes to a tight end. Those are the easiest completions a quarterback will get because those are the guys generally that are left open. The defense isn't quite as scared of these guys as they are the wide receivers, right? So I believe when you look at it through that lens, you're going to see a lot of that in this offense, right? I mean, Anthony Richardson, if you can't squeeze it into a hole, pause. If you're having a tough time feeling things out and you just have a 6'7", 260-pound man in Jelani Woods right there 4 yards away from you, you throw it to him and see what he can do with it. And by the way, the kid is so explosive. Every time he touches the ball, I feel like he's about to pop out of my screen and slap me in the face, right? I mean, Jelani Woods had like 12 receptions last year, and I feel like I remember all of them. I mean, he was that legitimate when he was, actually playing and on the field, right? These are the types of things that are going to make things easier on Anthony Richardson. Shane Steichen knows that. If I know that, Shane Steichen knows that. And then on top of that, you look at the tight end targets in the offenses that he's run with these younger quarterbacks, right? For me, those are the clues for me. I don't even know where I'm going with this episode. This right here, in terms of concisiveness, and I'm not just saying this for you guys to be like, oh, it's okay, Justin, right? In terms of it being a concise idea, maybe one of my bottom 3 episodes of all time, but hopefully I was able to drop some nuggets there. I mean, I don't know, right? My point, let me wrap it up in a bow, right? I think the Colts are going to have a breakout tight end this season. This is the whole video in 40 seconds. It's either going to be Jelani Woods, Kylen Granson, or Will Mallory in that order. The reason I think that is because Shane Steichen has a history of involving the tight end position in his offenses. Along with that, tight end completions are some of the easiest completions to get, which are going to be necessary for a young quarterback who it's perceived may have an issue with accuracy. A big target, maybe one of the first reads, check down, 5 yards away. These are going to be the types of things I think you see in this offense a lot to make things easier for Anthony Richardson. I think it's going to result in a monster season, at least by the Colts standards, by one of these tight ends. And it's what I'm looking for going into training camp. How involved are these tight ends going to be in these? I don't even know what training camp consists of. This is my first time going, so I don't know if they do 7-on-7s or what. I have not a clue. So maybe I won't find what I'm looking for. If anyone's been to training camp, tell me what goes on other than just position drills. I'm curious to see how involved these tight ends are in this offense. I think this is a position right here that there's a breakout season incoming by someone. Best bet being Jelani Woods when we're talking sheer upside. But I think in terms of the guy that I view as most likely to lead this team in receptions, call me crazy, I actually think it's Kylen Granson. Lead this team in receptions at the tight end position. I think it's Kylen Granson. I'm going to stop the episode right there because this thing has just been off the rails from the start. But, at the same time, I had fun with it. And I feel like I said everything I wanted to say. I don't know. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the tight end position. If the episode stunk, I guess let me know about that too. But if you enjoyed it, I'll take the compliments as well, right? So, with that, my name is Justin. This is the Riding the Bench Colts cast. And until next time, go Colts.